Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
All right, everybody, peace. Welcome to the GSMC Basketball Podcast show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As you guys know, I'm your host, Casuan, and we've got a very interesting show today, guys. We're going to be covering some more news coming out of Philadelphia training camp. We're going to be covering some news coming out of Lakers training camp as well, and we're also going to be discussing some Lonzo Ball updates and whether or not Giannis and Dame are actually the best duo in the NBA. So, that being said, guys, let's get right into it. But before we get started, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content that we post daily. And be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar and typing in GSMC Sports, so that we can get access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. None of this is possible without you guys, the fans, so such an honor and privilege to share my knowledge and insight on the game of basketball with you guys. But with that being said, guys, let's go get right into it, shall we? So, like I said, we're going to be starting off with covering some news coming out of Philadelphia training camp. And reports say that James Harden is expected to join the 76ers at training camp. And according to the report by Adrian Wojnarowski, Harden was not present for Philadelphia's first practice at Moby Arena on the campus of Colorado State University Tuesday morning. He expects to arrive in Colorado as soon as late Tuesday to join the franchise training camp. And however, it's not clear how soon or whether even Harden will participate in the practices, but he will be there as late as Tuesday, which is today. And according to head coach, Philly 76ers head coach Nick Nurse, he stated that if Harden does show up tomorrow, then they'll get ready to make some adjustments on everything. But we'll see what happens. So clearly, Nurse is either being coy or is truly out of the loop. Not sure what's going on with James Harden, but this was something that we talked about yesterday, whether or not James Harden would be attending training camp and whether he'd be playing for the 76ers again at some point. Already he had played his last game in Philadelphia. And this is a situation akin to what happened in Houston. I just personally, I don't see how James Harden can play in Philly again. And I was thinking of some possible trade options, and something we talked about before was the package that Indiana could offer James Harden, or could offer Philly for James Harden. And I still think Indiana's the most viable option because, let me preface by saying there are some teams in the league that are content with not being contenders and not being in the lottery, just being in the middle of the pack. And Indiana is one of those teams. And Indiana will be perfectly fine with getting a James Harden, trading away their pieces, and not contending to make the playoffs, but also not being in the lottery. And if they were to retain James Harden after that trade they have to give up Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. But after retaining James Harden, I think they're okay with just having James Harden there and not competing to win a championship, because having James Harden there will bring in fans, will bring in marketability, bring in more money for the organization. And Indiana's perfectly fine with that. Now then the question becomes, will James Harden be okay with that? And I would say no, then which leads to Indiana likely having to buy out James Harden, and then from there Harden will likely have to take a pay cut, but can decide where he wants to go from there. And that's why I say Indiana is a viable option still. And it's but it's just apparent to me that James Harden will not be playing another game in Philadelphia. There's just no way. I can't see the way that you can even create a scenario where it's possible for him to play. I believe this bridge has been burned, and this bond has been tethered. So there's just no way. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that James Harden can possibly play in Philly again? Do you think they can renew or rekindle this relationship, or is it kaput? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. And Harden's, and from my reports say Harden isn't necessarily too keen on winning. He's not worried about winning. He's for all intents and purposes, essentially, he just wants to get paid and have some fun off the court. So that's why Miami, Houston, from what I hear, he's doing all he can to get back to Houston, but which came as a surprise to me, because I was under the impression up to now that he wanted to contend for a championship, but clearly I was mistaken. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But in our next segment, guys, we're going to be discussing the recent comments made by LeBron James during their media day, and what that means for the Lakers moving forward. So guys, be sure to stick around for all of that. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed the first segment of our show, we discussed the recent reports coming out of Philadelphia training camp involving James Harden and him actually reporting to training, or he will be reporting to training camp as late as today, this evening. So that was news for us. And in this segment, guys, we're going to be discussing the recent news coming out of the Lakers training camp involving LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And LeBron James was asked a couple of questions at the Lakers media day, and LeBron stated that Anthony Davis is the face of the franchise. He's the face of the Lakers, and for all intents and purposes, advocated for Anthony Davis being the leader of this team and the face of this franchise. And this was LeBron's way of beginning to segue from being the best player on the team, on the championship team, to Anthony Davis being the best player on this national or championship contending team. But something we talked about during the offseason was, is LeBron James at a point in his career where he can still be the best player on the championship team? And I don't think he is, just only off his age. But I don't think that Anthony Davis has shown me enough that he can be the best player on a championship team just yet. So this year will say a lot to whether he can be the best player on a championship team, because now he has no choice but to be the best player on a championship team, because LeBron is no longer at a point in his career where he can sustain that level of durability and impact to play game in and game out and constantly give the team 25, 30 points a game in the playoffs. So Anthony Davis has to be the best player on this team, but then being the best player on this team, does that mean they're still a championship contending team, the Lakers? And that question remains to be seen, and I can't definitively say yes because of what I've seen. AD isn't consistent enough, not only in his health but in his level of play. And once he can become more consistent in those two things, then I can start to say, okay, well, maybe he can be the best player on the championship team. But based on what I've seen so far from him, I can't say that. I can't answer that question definitively with a yes. I mean, I'm more inclined to say no. But obviously that doesn't mean that Anthony Davis isn't a great talent. He's not a great player. From what I've seen, Anthony Davis put on a little bit more of muscle during this offseason to prepare for the absorption of extra contact and perhaps prepare his body for the wear and tear of the season. And perhaps this is the season where he takes that step in terms of going into being the best player and mentally preparing himself to take on that role, because the physicality plays a part in it, but mentally being able to handle that responsibility, being able to handle that pressure is a lot. It can be taxing on a player. It can be taxing on the individual. But however, one thing that's interesting with any team, any player that is on the same team as LeBron James, you're never really viewed as the best player. It's interesting, even at this point in LeBron James' career, LeBron James is never going to get 100% of the blame. He will always receive credit, but not the blame. It doesn't matter where he's been, whether it's been first stint in Cleveland or Miami, second stint in Cleveland, the Lakers now. LeBron has never really been criticized in the extent of not, in terms of saying he didn't show up, except for the only time he was criticized was during the 2011 NBA Finals, and rightfully so. But LeBron has never truly been criticized and received the level of criticism. It's always been his teammates. Whether it be Chris Bosh or Dwayne Wade, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, Anthony Davis. And it has always been his teammates that received the level of criticism, or received that criticism in terms of not showing up in big games or not being consistent. LeBron has never received that level that criticism that his teammates received. It's always been pushed. That criticism's always been pushed onto, his teammates, and so even if AD is the best player, he will never receive the credit of being the best player on the team, but he still will continue to receive the criticism that comes with playing with LeBron James until LeBron James retires. The same way Russ did. And not to say that some of that criticism on Russ wasn't deserved, but Russ received a lot of that criticism, while LeBron and AD, rightfully so, as well, were not given that criticism. But that's how it goes with being the tertiary option on the LeBron James team. You're going to get the large level of that criticism. So that's how things have been since LeBron has been in the league. And let me know what you guys think. Do you think AD can be the face of this Lakers team? Can be the best player on the championship contending team? Do you think AD is actually the face of this Lakers team, or is LeBron just once again being coy and trying to shift credit or blame when that comes onto the best player, i.e. Anthony Davis? Let me know what you guys think. Share your thoughts in the comment section. But alright guys, in our next segment we will be discussing whether Giannis and Dame are actually the best players. The best duo, whether they are actually the best duo in the NBA. So guys, be sure to stick around for all of that. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back. Alright, welcome back. In case you missed the first two segments of our show, we discussed the reports coming out of Philadelphia training camp involving James Harden, and we also discussed some quotes given by LeBron James at the Lakers Media Day. And stick around for the end of our show where we're going to be discussing some Lonzo Ball updates. And in this segment, guys, we're going to be discussing whether Giannis and Dame are actually the best duo. Whether they're actually the best duo in the NBA. And obviously, a lot of people are picking Milwaukee Bucks to win the NBA championship this coming season. If you had to ask me, I'd have to go with Boston as of right now. But people are saying that Giannis and Dame are the best duo in the NBA. And I'm not sure entirely I agree with that, because I still wouldn't take Giannis and Dame over LeBron and AD. I still wouldn't take Giannis and Dame over Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. I wouldn't take Giannis and Dame over, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And I wouldn't take Dame and Giannis over Jokic and Jamal Murray. So there are still a lot of questions and cause for concern. Not cause for concern, but there are a lot of questions in Milwaukee, especially defensively. That perimeter defense is not going to be as strong now. Giannis is going to have to be put on the best player now when they play defense, and we know that Giannis gets a lot of dumb fouls, for lack of better words, and I don't think that the Giannis and Dame are the best duo. And I'm not saying they can't be, but it has yet to be seen. And if I'm proven wrong, I'll gladly accept that. But I'll have to see it. I need to see it first. And but I think it's a little facetious. It's a little too forward for me to say that they're the best duo in the NBA. Not yet. I can't go there yet. I can't agree with that. I can't put my name behind that. Not as of right now. No. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Giannis and Dame are the best duo in the NBA? I don't think so. I would still take, like I said, I would still take KD and Booker. I would still take Murray and Jokic. I would still take LeBron and AD. I would still take Kawhi and Paul George. Those are just, to name a few, duos. But I wouldn't take Giannis and Dame over any of those guys. That's in terms of a duo, not individually. In terms of a duo, how they coexist together. I wouldn't. But let me know what you guys think. Share your thoughts in the comment section when it comes to that. But like I said, personally, I wouldn't be able to take any of those guys over. I wouldn't take Giannis and Dame over any of those guys. But in our last segment, guys, like I said, we're just giving a quick update on Lonzo Ball and what he said after media day and what his health report is as of right now. So we'll have a very quick break, guys, and then we'll be right back. So be sure to stick around. You're not going to miss it. Everybody, welcome back. In case you missed the last couple segments of our show, we just discussed the recent reports coming out of Philadelphia training camp as well as Lakers training camp, and we also discussed the whether or not Giannis and Dame are actually the best duo in the NBA, and I don't think so. I just don't think so. I think it's a little forward, a little facetious to say that, and I can't put my name behind that statement. And in this segment, guys, in our last segment, we're going to be discussing some updates on Lonzo Ball, his health status, and what he said during the Bulls media day. But before we get into any of that, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you can see update on all of our latest content. And be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, click on the search bar, and typing in GSMC Sports. That way you can get access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker. The link in the ticker is streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network./tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network./tip. None of this is possible without you guys, the fans, so it's an honor and a blessing to have this platform and share my thoughts and insight with you guys. So it's a privilege, and I'm grateful for it. I truly am. So with that being said, guys, let's get right into it, shall we? Obviously, Lonzo Ball has not played, since January of 2022 due to a lingering knee injury, due to a number of series of knee surgeries that have derailed his promising career. Ball stated on Monday during the media day that he's about halfway through the rehab process from a cartilage transplant in March. This is the third operation on his left knee in a little more than a year, and it's already been stated to the public that he will miss the entire 2023-2024 season. So this will be the second year in a row that he's missed the entirety of the season. Ball told reporters that he definitely plans on playing again, and after surgery theory, he feels like it's going well so far, no setbacks, and he's just going to keep his head up and keep doing the work. And like I said, Ball hasn't played in an NBA game since January 14th, 2022. And he reminded reporters that he's only 25 and said everything happens for a reason when discussing his knee injury. So the question becomes, will Lonzo Ball ever play again? And the biggest thing when it comes to these injuries is maintaining your mental state, a positive mental state, because as anyone that's dealt with injuries before, it can be debilitating and it can be mentally taxing on the individual, more so than the physical aspect. And you have to maintain that level of confidence and self-belief in those moments. So what do you expect Lonzo to say in this moment? Do you expect him to say, well, I don't know if I'll ever play again, I just don't think I can do it, the rehab process is long, I can't do it, it's a lot? You don't expect him to say that. You don't want him to say that. What he said during media day is what you want to hear. From an athlete's perspective, you want to hear him say, okay, he's got that confidence, he's got that self-belief in himself, he's surrounded by a good support system, he's surrounded by people that are going to challenge him and have a positive impact on his well-being and his mental aspect, his mental side. So that's what you want. You want to have that level of self-belief, especially when rehabbing. And the process will be long, but he's capable of doing it. And like he said, he has 25, but these are knee injuries that he's having, and it's on the same knee. So then the question becomes, will he be the same player when he returns? Now that question remains to be unanswered, remains to be seen. But can he come back? Yeah, sure. I do think so. I think he can come back. Will he be the same player? I can't answer that. 3 surgeries in over the span over a year and a half. That's a lot. It's a lot on any human being, let alone an athlete who has to perform at the highest intensity that your body can be at. And so that remains to be seen. But when he returns, what will he be returning to in Chicago? And that's another question that remains to be seen. Will DeMar DeRozan still be there? Will Zach LaVine still be there? What will be the space and the shape of the Chicago Bulls once Lonzo Ball returns? We're talking about a Chicago Bulls team that was number 2, if I'm not mistaken, in the Eastern Conference up until Lonzo got hurt. So there's no question that Lonzo can play with this group of guys, that this core in Chicago, but obviously he has to remain to get healthy. But I like what I heard. I like what I heard out of from Lonzo personally, because it's what you want to hear from a player when they are rehabbing from the injury. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Lonzo will play again in the NBA? Do you think he can be the same player he once was? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section, or in the chat room as well. But with that being said, guys, that's all we have for our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful show. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content that we post daily. Be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, click on the search bar, and typing in GSMC Sports. That way you can gain access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you would like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network/tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network/tip. None of this is possible without you guys as fans, so it's such an honor and privilege to share this platform and share my thoughts and insight on the wonderful game of basketball. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out the other sports shows on GSMC Sports Network: the GSMC Baseball Podcast, GSMC College Football Podcast, the GSMC NFL Podcast, and the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. All of our hosts provide great insight and coverage on the sports that they're covering, and it's an honor and privilege to be working alongside some of the best in the business. So with that being said, guys, that's all we have. We'll be back again same time tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until then, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and peace.